So if you ask my opinion, I think that Bernie needs to kind of go out swinging more. I think he really needs to go out there and sort of differentiate himself from all of his opponents, those being Kamala Harris, particularly Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Really, the main one being Joe because he's in the lead and he needs to be taken out. And Bernie has seemed to done that here in a moment in the debates, in which he explains the difference between himself and Joe Biden. Let's hear him out.
You talked about the big mistake in Iraq and the surge. The truth is, the big mistake, the huge mistake, and one of the big differences between you and me, I never believed what Cheney and Bush said about Iraq. You're right. I voted against the war in Iraq and helped lead the opposition. And it's sad to say, I mean, I kind of, had the feeling that there would be massive destabilization in that area if we went into that war.
So look, man, I mean, if you go back and you watch Bernie Sanders' breakdown where he's on the House floor just hammering the idea of going into Iraq, he was literally, I mean, the guy was basically Nostradamus. He got everything right. He talked about, how many lives is it going to take on the U.S. side? How many civilians are going to be taken? Who's going to take place? Who's going to become in power? Because you create a power vacuum. So it's like, who's going to take power? You create this power vacuum. Someone's got to take power. There's going to be destabilization. He was on point in literally every single point. And he talked about the spending as well. Every single point he was on the money. And that was back when they were, debating going into Iraq. So he did this here, and he needs to continue to do this. He needs to be on the debate stage hammering, hey guys, I have the best record on this stage. All of these people on this stage do not have the record that I have. They simply do not. My record is spotless. I am the most consistent one. I have been on the right side of history. Though I think there was like a letter of his from like the 70s or something where he was talking about gay rights and I think even trans rights, which is like, whoa, that long ago? It's really insane. So, that's probably the most striking thing for me as to something that really pulled me in as such a big, to become such a big supporter of Bernie Sanders was seeing the actual results and the past and seeing his positions in the past and them being the same. I was like, wow, this guy has legitimately been on the right side of history. He was marching with MLK, literally on his I Have a Dream. Who can say that? Who can say that on that stage? Nobody. And so he needs to tout those kinds of things consistently. He needs to continue to do that. And he did that very effectively here and importantly here. Because Joe Biden, he tries to basically talk about how that was a mistake. But of course, as you see Bernie pointing out here, the difference between you and I, Joseph, I voted against it from the jump. You supported it. And what's interesting to me is, it really didn't take much rocket science to understand what was going to happen. Now, I understand that after 9/11, there was this sort of drunken stupor that everyone was in of patriotism and just a general kind of blinded stupidity about let's just go in and just do whatever the fuck we want in this country or that country. Who cares if they had anything to do with 9/11? They're brown, so therefore there must be something going on. But Dick Cheney himself, when he was, I forgot if he was Secretary of Defense, he was in the George H.W. Bush administration, and he had explained why they did not overthrow Saddam Hussein during the Gulf War. When they went in and they basically did the strikes on Iraq and had them get out of Kuwait. He basically said that, they were going to create a power vacuum and who knows who's going to take power. Then Dick apparently decided to change his opinion because he's a hack or whatever. But, and he also had a massive conflict of interest with Halliburton as well, as you guys all know. But it really did not take much rocket science to understand that. But that doesn't mean that Bernie shouldn't get massive credit for getting that right, because he really got that right and he deserves his credit for doing that. So good job to Bernie on this one. This is very important for him to do. He needs to continually hammer, hey folks, I am the best candidate on here because of my record. All these people trying to copy me, Kamala Harris trying to become a copycat, a carbon copy. Yeah, she don't have the record I do. In fact, she's a really horrible one.